Dragon's Awakening, the Duke's son, is changing the plot. Chapter 10, Practical Test 4. The training grounds were alive with tension, the air trembling as though the earth itself sensed the storm about to be unleashed. Students crowded around the dueling circle, their eyes burning with curiosity, nerves, and the feverish hunger of spectators who had come to witness strength being tested. Alex stepped forward, broad shoulders rolling, a grin stretched across his face that spoke of eagerness rather than fear. His excitement radiated like a fire that refused to be contained, spilling over into the atmosphere, infecting even those who would rather have looked away. To Raven, watching from the sidelines, it was almost exhausting. The grin, the recklessness, the eagerness to fight. It was Alex in his purest form, dumb muscle at its finest, a headache wrapped in human flesh. Across from them, Darren's team hesitated. Their eyes shifted, calculating, measuring the monster that had just entered the ring. Finally, one among them stepped forward, tall, lean, his frame built not for brute strength, but for speed. His movements were precise, controlled, like a predator who had long ago learned to strike before his prey could even comprehend danger. His fists were bound in tight bandages, his face unreadable, the quiet confidence of a man who relied not on words but on action. Reese. Darren's voice cracked like a whip, sharp with impatience. "Crush him!" The fighter gave no reply, only a small nod as he tightened the bandages across his knuckles. He was not one for taunts or theatrics. His silence was his edge, his movements his weapon. He was a striker, trained to dismantle opponents piece by piece, targeting weakness until his enemy collapsed under precision and speed. Raven, however, only muttered to himself, the faintest smirk touching his lips. Bad pick. Clara, curious, raised her brow. To her, the choice seemed sound. A fast striker against Alex's unthinking strength looked ideal. A natural counter. Yet Raven shook his head, voice low with the certainty of one who knew Alex far too well. Alex wasn't simply strength. He was a monster that carried the endurance of a defender and the brutality of a striker combined. Jake, without even glancing up, confirmed the thought. A beast who wouldn't go down until the other lay broken. Clara didn't understand yet. She had never crossed blades with Alex. She had never seen him shrug off damage with a grin that promised disaster. Only Raven and Jake knew, because they had tested that storm and barely come out standing. Still, Raven's eyes sharpened on Reese. This opponent was no ordinary fighter. He was dangerous, more dangerous than Darren likely realized. Raven knew his name from the future of the story. Reese would one day bear a title, one that marked him as more than just another skilled fighter. If his growth had already begun, then this battle would reveal how much of the original plot still held true. Instructor Gale raised his hand. The fighters stepped into the circle. Silence spread like a blanket as all eyes fixed on the pair about to clash. Second match, begin. The signal dropped and Reese moved first. Speed, pure speed. He became a blur, a phantom that sliced through the air, his foot arcing in a sharp strike aimed straight for Alex's ribs. But Alex didn't dodge. He didn't even try. He stepped into it. The impact thundered through the grounds, a hollow, solid sound like a heel against stone. A collective gasp rippled outward as Alex's forearm took the strike head on. He didn't flinch. He didn't yield. He simply absorbed the force, and the brick wall that was his body held fast. Reese's eyes widened just slightly, but enough for Raven to notice. That wasn't what he had expected. Murmurs rushed through the crowd. He took that clean, didn't even move, built like a bear. But Reese was not easily shaken. Without pause, he shifted his weight, fists flying, kicks slicing, a barrage of strikes delivered with machine precision. Each blow landed at weak points, the kind that would cripple an ordinary fighter, the kind that should have forced Alex onto his knees. For a moment, it appeared as though Alex struggled. His arms tightened under the relentless rain of attacks. His body bent, staggered back an inch. The sound of impact after impact filled the circle. To the eyes of most, it looked like speed had won, as it always did over strength. Yet Raven's smirk deepened. Something was wrong. Alex wasn't struggling. He was waiting. Reese's fist darted forward again, sharp and clean, aimed at Alex's jaw. The strike landed with a crack, snapping Alex's head to the side. Gasps filled the air, but then, slowly, Alex turned back. His eyes fixed on Reese as his head straightened, forcing the punch back. His neck muscles straining like iron cords. The fist that had been pressed against his face was now trembling against his strength. Reese's instincts screamed. Danger. He broke away instantly, retreating across the circle, heart hammering with the sudden realization that he had nearly stepped into a lion's maw. A second later, and Alex's fist would have torn him apart. From the sidelines, Raven nodded. There it was, the primal instinct that gave Reese his future title. He had felt the brink of death and escaped by the width of a hair. Alex's grin widened into something wild, untamed, almost frightening in its hunger. Clara, watching, muttered under her breath, doubting whether the fool wasn't secretly a masochist, while Jake only sighed, recognizing that look too well. The storm was breaking loose. Reese tensed, his calm expression cracking as resolve hardened. He had not been holding back before, but now his every fiber screamed that he must push beyond his best. Alex cracked his knuckles, voice like gravel. My turn. And then he moved. He was not fast, not compared to Reese. But what he lacked in speed, he made up for with raw, devastating force. His fist swung forward like a cannon shot. Reese blocked on instinct, a mistake. The strike slammed into his guard, and the sheer weight of it sent him flying backward, boots scraping along the dirt, arms trembling violently. Shock erupted among the crowd. That wasn't a punch, it was a sledgehammer disguised as flesh. For the first time, Reese's composure wavered. He had trained for speed, for agility, for facing assassins and technical fighters. But this was different. This was no man. This was a beast. The thought slipped into his mind like poison. Is this one the strongest among them? Darren's face twisted in fury, his voice cutting across the grounds. Stop playing and take him down! Reese's teeth ground together. He was already fighting with all he had. Still, he changed his approach. Weaving tighter, slipping through blind spots, attacking angles Alex couldn't easily guard. His fists found their marks. His kicks landed, but nothing mattered. Alex soaked the blows with that unyielding grin, as though the strikes only stoked his excitement further. And then Alex stomped the ground. The force rattled the air, a thunderclap through the dirt. For just a heartbeat, Reese faltered. A flinch. Barely even a second. But that was enough. Alex's hook came like a storm wind, slamming into Reese's ribs with explosive force. The world spun. Reese's body twisted, thrown midair like a rag doll before he crashed against the ground. A cough tore from his chest as breath abandoned him, pain racking his body. Silence. The crowd stared in disbelief. He threw him like nothing. No technique, no refinement, just destruction. Raven smirked. That had always been Alex's way. He had once tried to teach the fool a true fighting art, Krav Maga, hoping to shape that brute strength into something sharper, deadlier. But Alex could never grasp the complexity. To him, it was acrobatics, wasteful. He had no use for it. And perhaps he was right, for what need was there for finesse when raw chaos was enough? Even Instructor Gale paused before raising his hand. Winner. Alex. The crowd erupted. Shock, disbelief, cheers, and groans mixed together into a storm of noise. Darren's face darkened, fists clenching white, his fury barely contained. Useless trash, he spat toward Reese's still body. His rage turned then to his entire team, venom dripping from his voice. All of you are useless. Alex, oblivious to the weight of politics and pride unraveling around him, walked back to his team, rubbing his jaw with a grin. That guy was fast. My head still ringing. Clara smirked, throwing a jab about his thick skull, to which Alex barked a curse in return. The familiar bickering barely touched Raven's focus. His eyes stayed fixed on Darren. The proud heir was losing control. Exactly what Raven wanted. But the true battle was not only in the circle. In the judge's area, Vance sat stiff with rage, his fingers digging into the chair's arms. His jaw twitched with restrained fury as his eyes burned toward the field. Beside him, Damien leaned back with a small chuckle, his tone mocking but smooth. Not looking so good for your side, is it? Vance's glare only deepened, silent in his fury. Damien, amused, rested his chin upon his hand, eyes glittering with intrigue. He mused softly, watching the stage unfold. He wondered who Team Raven would send next. Each of them was becoming more interesting than the last. The storm had only just begun.